Welcome back to Earth Station Trek, a show where we trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between. I'm Charles Kelso, and it's my privilege to introduce the Earth Station Trek crew. Keith Johnson.
I am wiry and greasy.
Alan Seiler.
What crawled in her boob window and died?
And Veronica Dashel will be joining us probably in progress. But we're back.
Hey, we're back.
Talking about 2 episodes of Lower Decks this week, because we have some catching up to do. We took last week off for Halloween. But we'll be talking about episode 3 and 4 of Star Trek Lower Deck Season 5, The Best Exotic Nanite Hotel, and A Farewell to Farms.
Boy, those titles.
Yeah.
But before we get into it, did we have any news this week?
No.
How about This Week in Trek?
No, I figured we'd be talking about the shows.
All right, straight into it.
Yeah.
Straight into it.
Yeah, so let's start it off with The Best Exotic Nanite Hotel. I mean, what do you guys think?
Well, before we do that, let me get the first comment, because Elaine Sweatman says, I was so waiting for the boob window comment. I am happy to deliver. All right, so first one.
Yeah.
Man, I really enjoyed it.
Good.
That was fun.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was a good one. The bit with Jet and making Boimler think that they were out to get him, that all felt very like earlier Lower Decks to me. That seemed like a plot that would have been like season 2.
Right.
Specifically, I mean, I think it was, I don't remember if it was season 2 or season 3, but the Mugato episode, they had a very similar plot where they became convinced that, that Mariner was like a secret assassin or something like that. And that was sort of this felt very much like that to me.
Good point. I didn't think about that, but I think, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Veronica,
hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thanks.
What did you think of
Veronica?
The Best Exotic Nanite Hotel?
Oh, geez. Sorry, a dog jumped on me. I had fun with it. It was cute to see Jennifer back.
Okay.
that storyline was pretty hilarious.
Okay. Yeah.
This is so weird. Just a few days ago, I was watching, when you sometimes watch shows because you have nothing else to do, or they call it folding clothes shows. And I've been watching this new series on ABC called The Odyssey, or Dr. Odyssey.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's kind of like a modern Love Boat. And I was just thinking, we're always talking about different stuff. And I was just walking around the house, got this stupid thought. And my wife just got back from a cruise, her first cruise. I was like, I wonder if they have cruise ships in Starfleet or in the Federation, if they have anything approaching that. And there we go. So, because you think about it, you cruise the stars instead of the oceans. And of course, it wouldn't be this big, but that's kind of wild. And even the cruise ship my wife is on, which is relatively small, it's like twice the size of the Titanic, which is kind of frightening. So I thought that was interesting, because we don't really see that other side of Starfleet. We always talk about, or the Federation, other than Risa. What do they do for fun?
Yeah, and they have various pleasure planets like Rice, like you're talking about.
Yeah,
but, I mean, this was the look of the space station made me think of Starbase One from Strange New Worlds. It had that kind of look to it.
Yeah, and I got to say, to that point, Charles, I'm impressed that even stuff that could kind of sort of be throwaway background, they put time into it. Because they took time to design that, for all that, you saw the things. There was some, and I had to stop it a couple of times to look at some details they had drawn in the background to build out that world, which at regular speed you're not really going to catch, because the stuff is just running through real fast. So again, impressive.
Yeah, their attention to detail has always been on point. And it rewards. I mean, you can watch the episode and just enjoy the episode, the story that it's telling. But then when you get into the minutia, it's like this extra little reward that you get. It's not necessary, but it's so fun.
Yeah. Like the little mustache that Boimler is still sporting in this episode. They left that on.
Well, even like the little canon things they put in are always fun, even when they don't matter to the plot. And the big one in this one to me that made me like jump up in bed was the Gallimites. There was a pair of Gallimites sitting there.
Yes.
Are referenced many times on Deep Space Nine. Captain Baudet had a relationship with Jadzia, and now we finally see what a Gallimite looks like. Is it what you expected?
No. I expected just a humanoid dude with a see-through skull. They didn't look anything like that.
No, yeah, Dax is open-minded.
Yes, she
Yeah.
is. It's
It's
true.
not even that they have a see-through skull because it's like there's a dome over it.
Well, you can see your brain inside.
You can see the brain, but it's not a transparent skull because it's a dome over
Well, the
the
skin's
brain.
got to be transparent too, or it doesn't matter.
But
Like, if just the skull was transparent,
it
nobody would notice.
bulges up.
Okay,
I don't know.
I got you.
It didn't look like a transparent skull.
Okay.
It looked like a dome
Well, if
over
it's
a
a-
brain that was wide open.
Well, if it's like a bony type casing protecting the brain, I think that classifies as a skull.
Yeah.
Not a biologist.
Oh gosh.
This is great.
Okay. Well, so Veronica, what did you think of the Galamites?
Eh.
Okay, I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. The only thing the only like real physical descriptions we had up to this point was that Captain Baudet has a transparent skull and a toothy smile, and these guys definitely you could see how
Yeah.
they would have both of those things.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun, and it was one of those things that like someone who isn't like a huge Star Trek fan would never know or care, and it makes no difference to the story whatsoever. They're just a couple of aliens.
Yeah, and the funny
Yeah.
thing, Charles, you're talking about Deep Space Nine. When they first talked about it, Jet Diaz said something like, "Don't you like a man with brains, or appreciate a man with brains, don't you?" And Hero says, "Not that I could see."
I know. Now I want to rewatch those scenes with a mental image of a Galamite in my mind
Yes.
Yeah.
and see how it plays.
And Elaine says, I know nothing of these Galamites yet.
Yeah, well, and now it's
Yeah.
going to color your perception.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're going to see it from a completely different way that we all have, where for us, it was just a name that was mentioned,
Right.
but you'll have a face to go with it.
Yeah. We also
Yeah.
got a couple of those dudes that Archer's dog peed on their tree and they got all upset about it.
That's who they were.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, yes. That made sense.
Yeah. And still easily offended in the 24th century.
Yeah,
Right.
the people who you don't eat and drink in front of. Okay,
Right.
that's right. They were at Enterprise. You're right.
Cretaceans, maybe? Cretaceans?
Yeah,
Something like that.
Cretaceans.
There we go.
Cretaceans. Yeah, that is literally one of the weirdest cultures that can exist. If you literally can't even eat and drink in front of each other, because if you think about that, unless they eat like once a month or something, so everybody on their planet every single day goes into a different room and eats and drinks. But I guess it's possible.
Well, I mean, he said it was more offensive to them than other biological functions that we do in private. Typically,
Yeah.
not always, but typically, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we go into private rooms for that often.
It's just I snack
Well,
all day long.
maybe not
This would be
often,
rough.
but, you know.
I literally eat all day long. This would be tough.
I'm just going to say that there are some people who are just gross eaters, and I would be happy to go into my own little room and not be around them when they eat with their mouth open or smack or, gross.
I would just be happy if I couldn't hear them talking on their phone on speaker while they're eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and Veronica, you alluded to it, but we got a follow up on Mariner and Jennifer finally.
Yeah.
So you liked the way that went.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of fitting
Oh.
for their personalities, the way that it went down.
Okay. What did you guys think?
It was fine. I honestly forgotten about Jennifer. So I was truly in the dark. I was like, oh, her. And I'd forgotten everything about what happened to them. I thought they had just broken up. I didn't realize they hadn't resolved it.
Yeah. They did kind of just drop it
Yeah.
around that time that candle thing was going on, I think.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
But I do agree with you, Veronica. It does suit Mariner to have this situation going on. And
Well, they kind of had sort of broken up when she was going to Starbase 80. She had
Right.
like given her candle back.
Mm.
And
Mm.
but then she came back and there was just nothing about it after that.
right.
So it was kind of like they broke up when she went to Starbase 80, but there was no discussion about, oh, actually, I'm not a traitor.
Right.
Surprise.
Interesting. I don't remember any of that. I definitely have to go back and rewatch the earlier seasons. But
Right.
the Jennifer subplot never really caught my interest anyway. So
Yeah. Okay.
sorry, Jennifer.
Well, what do we think of Admiral Milius? And did you guys catch the name reference there?
No, I did not.
Because John Milius was the screenwriter of Apocalypse Now.
Oh.
Whoa, deep cut. I sure that I did not catch that.
And now he's in that sort of same situation, but in a lower decks. I
Mhm.
loved that they were captured in this tropical thing, and they're like, the waitress comes by to ask what they want while they're tied to surfboards.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah. Wow. That's a true deep cut. I never caught that. I should have known with a name like Milius, it couldn't have been random. That's not a name you make up, but wow.
Yeah. I enjoyed that subplot. I like when they did a similar sort of thing in the end of last season when it was very much about like being a lower decker and then people trying to appeal to them in that way. And I like that this guy was trying to appeal to Boimler in that way because of what he was going through in this episode. But and I also just like that he just had like suntan lines around his wrist. He's been wearing sunglasses.
Right.
Even though they said on this planet, the sun is like smart and knows when you're going to be burned.
Right.
Which is interesting because how does it do that for everybody?
I know.
Exactly. Yeah.
I wondered about that. Even though they were playing it for jokes, this thing we've always talked about, even with the Cerritos, is you think about even in the military, which I still say, Starfleet's a military. Not everybody's going to get the exciting things. Now, the whole milking the space whales was, of course, played for jokes, but you're not going to get the exciting adventures for everyone. And so I guess obviously he wanted to be a Kirk or a Picard or something like that. And maybe because he did the first whale and he did the second whale, he's now the space whale expert.
Yeah. Which is funny that that's a boring job in the future, because if someone offered me like, hey, do you want to go into space and milk space whales? I'd be like, definitely.
Well, I'm more steamed into it.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So 2 comments. One, our good buddy Wayne has joined us, I think, because he says his internet is down, but he says, hello, everyone. So,
Hey, Wayne.
So
and then Elaine says, I loved learning more about Talyn and her musical preferences.
Mm-hmm.
I always love that kind of thing. And I have something to say about the second episode we're going to talk about too.
Okay.
But yeah, I always enjoy anytime we get Talyn on screen and learn more about her.
Yeah, I love that character. And I love that they brought that instrument back from We'll Always Have Paris that the guy was playing in the cafe in the holodeck. And we have a name for them now. They're called Vibe Tubes.
Yes.
And Veronica and I agreed that her referencing Krog's propinquity was another Monkeys reference on the show.
Oh, wow. Here we go again.
It had a Monkeys reference. It would be fitting to have another Monkeys reference. And propinquity is not that common a word.
That's
in
true.
relation to her favorite musician. So I think it's plausible.
What was the first reference?
When they were talking about the classic band The Monkees and on the date, and Rutherford said, I'm a believer.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
There was an overt Monkeys reference in the first episode. So I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that referring to Krunk's propinquity is a veiled Monkeys reference. And I'm going with it.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay, there are all kinds of references and deep cuts I'm missing this week.
I'm sure there are the ones that I missed too. Like they go deep.
Yeah.
And your monkeying around co-host says, yay, monkeys.
Yay. I agree.
So the Glumpus, the Glumpus, the Nanites was kind of funny.
What was it? Isocadicrotahedron? I'm messing that up. I'm like some syllables in there. I did love that minute where she like stopped to pause to count before identifying it.
To make sure that was it. Yes.
Yeah. It's basically a 20-sided die.
Isodecahedron?
Yeah.
That's it.
It's basically a 20-sided die.
Yeah.
But a giant one.
And the funny thing is that I've been rewatching some classic Doctor Who, and I've been looking at season 18, which was Tom Baker's last season. So I just watched this won't mean anything to people who don't know Star Trek or Doctor Who, but a story called Megillus. And there is basically a 12-sided die in that, the dodecahedron. So it's just funny that I got both of those basically because I didn't watch the first episode, because last week we were off on that Thursday night because it was Halloween. Do you think that I remembered on Friday that I had a Lower Decks episode to watch, or when I got home Thursday night from trick-or-treating? No, I did not.
Wow.
So it was days later that I finally watched the episode, and then had Megos at the same time, and I'm like, man, this is like a whole D&D night for me.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Now they mentioned the Gormagander, and I was trying to think, is this the first Discovery reference on Lower Decks?
I think it is. I think it is.
The previous one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's great. I think like referencing all the other shows is like Lower Decks thing,
Yes.
And that's one
Absolutely.
it doesn't violate the continuity because that's just a creature in the universe,
Right.
Sure.
So you don't have to worry about what's classified and what's not.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me get a comment from Matt. And he says, after episode 2, I was hoping they would have Boimler gradually with more facial hair in each episode. I was happy I was right. Yeah, that's been awkward, but fun to watch.
It is fun to watch. But it is a fitting Lower Decks thing to do for them in their final seasons to grow the beard over the course of the season with that sort of thing in Star Trek. And they've got to be aware of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's great. His beard does not grow very fast. If I was in the future, I would wave a live over or something. Get the thing to come in a little faster.
He definitely is not of the Riker gene pool.
Right.
See, and I thought it was growing pretty fast.
Okay.
As someone who has to shave once a month, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny with the whole thing with the Glumpus because they are very good at pulling out absolute Star Trek tropes. There are always the Star Trek tropes, the malfunctioning transporter, the ion storm or whatever, and nanites. Nanites are still those things that if you just want to pull something out and say, oh, this went wrong, pull out some nanites. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do everything. They're like those old commercials. They slice, they dice, they do everything else. They when they're used by Borg, they can heal, they can take over, and then they can do whatever that was. Yeah. So I did think it was funny when they did the whole thing where she was trying to get rid of her, and she was just trying to speed the mission along. So she juiced up the trap, and the box fell over, and it grabbed the energy, and then it was like super big. That was just all fun.
I appreciated that they didn't stop and explain what nanites were, because in the 90s, every single time a sci-fi show, I don't know how many times sci-fi shows told me what nanites were in the 90s.
Yes. Yeah, when they were introduced on TNG, it was really obvious because remember Wesley says nanites, small, and he had to explain it to this whole crew, including his mother. It's like it made no sense. You're right. So yeah, they just went with it.
Mm-hmm. But and also, I mean, the reveal of it was that it looks like there is an ongoing portal to other dimension thing going on.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yes, it is. And there's a bit about that in the next episode we're going to be talking about too, which I can't wait to speculate about.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And I thought they did a pretty good job of tying in the various storylines that were going on with the character stories and then sort of weaving them together by the end. I thought it worked pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But they know what they're doing by this point,
Do they? Because if they did, they wouldn't got their show canceled.
Okay. You're gonna get us canceled.
Exactly. Oh Lord.
But I thought I liked it. I thought it was a fun episode. The beginning felt like a little bit of a throwback to earlier Lower Decks to me. But I do like that they're moving the character stories along because ultimately that's what really engages me about the show. More so than just throwing things from old Star Trek episodes on the screen is, I find the characters very engaging.
Yes, absolutely. And it was a very good character episode, as they pretty much all are each week. I mean, This is something that Lower Decks excels at, which we've talked about many times. And we have brought up this show's character work and how surprising it is to get that kind of character work in a 26-minute animated show, a comedy, but it's so well done every time. So, it's one of the strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any other comments about that episode before we go for a break and come back for the next one?
I did think it was funny when they were doing the little jokes, which are also good jokes. They told Boimler he was wiry, and then he says you can call through ducts, and it's like 90% of all spy operations, which is so true.
I love the Superman music build up to him putting suntan lotion on because he was too wiry and slippery for them to catch. That's like his superpower.
Right.
That was awesome.
That was great. Yeah. I thought that little joke was funny.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you, Charles. The whole thing with Boimler kind of sort of thinking something weird was going on. It did feel like a little bit of a throwback to some earlier seasons, but it didn't really bother me too much. Because the dude whose arms had gotten eaten off or whatever was kind of funny. Poor guy.
Jed has had a rough time over the course of Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was a fun one. Well, let's
Mhm.
go ahead and we'll go for a break.
Yep.
And then when we come back, we'll be talking about a farewell to farms. So stay right there.
Our break is going to fit a theme.
Ooh,
You ready?
ready.
See if you can guess what it is.
Look up, look down, look out. Here come the monkeys.
Mickey,
David,
Mike,
Peter,
We're talking about them in Monkeying Around. That's right, Monkeying Around has everything, including
interviews,
episode reviews,
album discussions,
and other incredible surprises.
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
Love it.
I don't get how it ties in.
Because we were talking about the monkeys just a few minutes ago.
Well, I thought it was going to tie into something we're about to talk about.
Well,
You can
it
talk about it
might.
again if you
You
want.
just hang on. It very well might. The theme has not ended yet.
Right. But we got Ma'a back.
Yes. That
Yeah,
was so cool. I
his
love
introduction was a surprise, that's for sure.
that. Yeah.
And it really makes me think of like, old stuff like on Next Gen where you'd have the
Mhm.
Klingon episode every year,
Right.
which would carry on from the storyline. And I love
Yes.
that they've done that in a sense over Lower Decks, from Wedge Dudge to last season's finale to now A Farewell to
Mhm.
Farms. And also, I thought it was very funny that he's dressed like Picard, like future Picard in the Vineyard.
Yeah. The whole setup was just a pastiche of what you would expect from a Picard episode, which I loved. But I also want to say that I really loved what they did with the opening credits because they didn't
Yes, so
default
pretty.
to our standard title sequence. We got it over. So the episode begins at the very top without a cold open, and the titles play out over a scene on the farm. And I thought it was really, really beautifully done.
Mhm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It was.
Yeah, and I like the character, but I love what they do with the Klingons also. But I just thought that
Yep.
this was a fantastic episode.
Yes, I did too. I really enjoyed it.
Mhm.
But I'm always going to love a good Klingon episode.
Right. And I may have
And-
missed it. Did they establish like what they're making the blood wine from?
Like
Um,
worms that they were harvesting.
Oh, that's what it was. Like the blood worms or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. I don't know if you paid attention to the closing credits, but one of the two women Klingons, I don't know which one, was played by Mary Chieffo.
Oh,
Yay!
I'm
nice.
so excited to see her back on Star Trek.
Oh, I need to go back and watch which character that was, because
Yeah,
we were just talking about the other day. Like, I can't believe they never brought Mary Chieffo on to Lower
Thank you.
Decks.
right.
She's great.
So she was either, there's only two. So she was either Colora, who was the potential girlfriend in the bar,
Mm.
or she was one of the ruling council.
Okay.
So I don't know which one, but
Oversight committee.
oversight committee, exactly. I meant to go to IMDb and see if I could spot which one it is, but I forgot to do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was
And
really
yeah, and that
excited
happens
to
when
see
we're
her back.
Yeah, and that happens when we're watching Day of. Like, we're not able to research this, or we're lucky to be
Yeah.
able to watch it and then get on and talk about it and have it out that same night. But yeah, and that's like, so 2 weeks in a row when they're showing some Discovery some love. So I appreciate that. 'Cause
Yeah.
last week we had the Gormagander, and this week we have Mary Chieffo. That's fantastic.
Exactly. Love it. I would love to see her back playing her Discovery character,
Mhm.
Mother, at some point. I was hoping that was what was going to happen in Section 31, but it looks like that might not be the case.
Boo.
Yeah, I don't have any indication of that so far. I mean, I
No.
guess time frame, because Klingons live a long time.
They
If it's in
do.
Lost
So
Era, she could be around.
yeah, she could
Not out.
still be alive somewhere.
Yeah.
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 I'm still hopeful.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, Klingons.
Klingons and
And-
giant targs.
Right.
Targs get bigger than
and-
I thought.
Yeah. And Boimler's obsession with Klingon history and culture,
Mm.
which I love.
And it came out of the blue, though. That was
Well,
I could definitely see Boimler like being so
Yeah.
excited to be tortured by. He's like it's like a play on Looking for Parmark in all the wrong places when they were so
Mhm.
mad at Worf. But
Yeah.
Boimler would be so excited to be going through this Klingon thing and being
Yes.
hit by a pain stick, and
Mhm.
I think that totally works for Boimler.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree.
Yeah, he's the guy that studies every culture and is excited about all that kind of interesting stuff. And as Matt pointed out too, his mustache grew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me get a couple of new comments. We have Elaine saying, "I thought where
Mhm.
they were going with on the Klingon farm reminded me of Star Wars and Tatooine."
Same
Good
here.
point. I was only thinking of Picard, but yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I thought of that too, Elaine.
And Matt says, "I appreciate they started differently, almost making the episode told from the Klingon perspective." I
Yeah.
agree. And, we had a couple of those. Like there was one that was almost entirely a peanut hamper episode. And I thought, are we going to get a true Klingon episode where it's just going to be Klingons telling the story and our characters walk in at the end? And that would have been super cool.
Absolutely.
I'm happy with what we got, but I was thinking the exact same thing, Matt.
Yeah, I thought that thought too, because I think the peanut hamper one also didn't have the titles, if I'm remembering right. And
I think
'cause
you're
was
right.
just peanut hamper on Bird Planet for most of the episode.
Yes.
But I would have loved it if it was just Ma'a and the Klingons, and like you say, like the lower deckers just turn up at the end.
Yeah.
But I also liked the episode that we got. Yeah.
Yes, totally. I was very sad to not get any Talen this week, but that's okay. That's okay. She'll be back next week. I have faith.
Yeah, she's become one of my favorite characters on the show.
Yeah,
God, I
same
love
here.
her.
She is
Love
so
her.
hilarious, which is funny that she's probably the funniest Vulcan there's been. Because she just her deadpan delivery is just perfect for it.
Yeah.
And they write it so well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, actually, going back to the previous episode when she basically said the picture had been defaced, and then she said it was an autograph, and she said, "Okay, I'll just take it back." She said, "Well, perhaps I should keep it aesthetic." I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, Matt asks, but does Alan have faith of the heart? You know I do, buddy. It's been a long road getting from there to here.
Yeah.
Matt, for the record, I like that song. I'm fine with it.
Okay.
For the record,
Yeah.
did you get that in your sensors?
Yes. I actually said that. I said that at a meeting because I'm building I'm building sensors for our information security group, and at work I said sensors.
Oh gosh!
And two people laughed. Two people got it. I said, "You got it." They go, "Oh, we got that!" Ah! So it was great.
Funny.
Good. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting again, Lower Decks, because you said that was a beautiful opening. I mean, just beautiful, and it could have turned into a 100% serious episode. And then immediately it's two brothers, taking the piss out of each other. I mean, just standard brothers. Yeah, you're a Tark. No, you're a Patak. Oh, no, you. Straight. There you go, Lower Decks. They do it well.
So let me just say quickly, for all the people who are watching, if you have thoughts or questions about this week's 2 episodes, just put it in the comments wherever you're watching, and we'll get to you as quickly as we can. Let us know what you thought about these ones, and if you liked them, and blah, blah, blah. So,
one little thing, I wanted to see their mom. All you heard was that voice off camera. Yes, mother.
Right.
Fierce warrior, right?
What is she gonna do now that her 2 sons abandoned her?
That's
the farm.
It's very much a Big Bang Theory situation.
Yes.
And took the ship to go off and do their things, and now there's not even a ship to deliver the wine.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I love that they brought back that actor who played the Klingon captain in Wedge Dudge, because he has a very distinctive voice. And I recognized his voice before they said that was that guy's brother. And like, oh, that's perfect, because that guy was a great Klingon.
So basically, we get our A story is a Klingon who is reclaiming his honor. And that's very much parallel with the journey that we saw Worf and Kern on throughout that run of Next Gen. And this season, since they seem to be doing a lot of like callbacks to Next Gen, I thought that was so appropriate and so well done. And I really loved seeing a new take on that whole thing, Yeah,
absolutely. And I love that I love their spin on the Klingons, where they were sort of having fun with the fact that the Klingons have so many rituals and things, and there's rituals that they don't even know about. They've got a bureaucracy around the ritual, like the
Yeah.
oversight committee for the ritual. I thought it was very funny.
Yeah, and only Boimler knew about it. You're right, because they had so many, they didn't even know about it.
Right, and I would believe that Boimler knows more about Klingon rituals than a lot of Klingons do.
Yeah, right.
Matt Sweatman says it was also showing how someone not necessarily in the Klingon military might still have Klingon attitudes with a different job.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, that reminds me of DS9. We had that prosecutor come in and put Worf on trial, whatever it was, and he approached the law as a battlefield.
Right.
You know, he was attacking whatever, you know, like he does his job as a warrior, but in a courtroom. And I thought that was a really interesting take on that whole thing. And this is the same thing where you see that mentality applied to a different setting. And so that reminds me also, one of the things that I wanted to point out is that we essentially got a death metal accordion player. And as much as we have heard about Klingon opera, I think Klingons would be so hardcore on death metal.
Yeah.
And I loved seeing that.
Yeah, I love
that was
getting
fun.
different Klingon musical styles because,
Yeah.
of course, they wouldn't just have opera, you know. So it makes sense that they've
Right.
got other stuff. They've mentioned other things before
Mhm.
on the show, but yeah, I love seeing that. And like I said, the accordion is pretty funny.
I mean, at least it's not K-pop, right? Klingon pop.
Yeah, that would bring them dishonor.
Indeed.
Well, I think also interesting the comment about you don't have to have a warrior, but you have a certain attitude. I know that Ronald D. Moore and others said that they model a lot of the Klingon warrior class after the Bushido code of ancient Japan, which is where, to your point, even if somebody is not a warrior, even the peasants, they had kind of sort of that attitude. Obviously, we saw that in World War II with the populace of Japan still had that attitude. You know, even the ones who didn't die. I'm really crossing the streams here, but in the movie Godzilla -1, one of the main protagonists, one of the problems is he did not kill himself in a suicide run on the ship, and even going home, that's an embarrassment. You know, it's like, what are you doing here? You're supposed to have killed yourself. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The other thing, and I won't spoil this for Lane because I don't think Elaine has seen a lot of Deep Space Nine or all of TNG.
None,
but
I don't think.
yeah, but what you're also saying, Alan, about the Klingon culture is one of the things you find, again, not to spoil anything, what Worf finds out is your idealized view of your people and what they're really like. Because the dude here is a douche, right? He's a real tool because Ma'a killed his brother honorably, no matter how you say it. But look at how the guy's getting around the rules. Ma'a shouldn't be punished like this, but he's getting around the rules. Now, Worf would think that's not honorable Klingon.
Yep.
And a lot of times, like Worf, welcome to the real world, right? So I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah, Worf's prepared to stab his own brother. You know what I mean? The Klingon rules. Well, I guess it's time to help you with your ritual suicide.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I'm curious what people out there think about the season so far and what we're going to expect in the rest of Lower Deck season 5. And feel free to throw a comment if you're watching at home. You know, we're coming live to you via satellite. You know, put the comment in and let us know what you think is going to happen on Lower Decks and what you think of the final season so far. And Alan, you alluded to this earlier, but they made reference again to these anomalies that are going on.
Yes.
And this time that someone may be behind them.
Yes. And I'm very intrigued by that. And this, you know, it kind of feels like this is a Discovery setup. You know, that kind of storyline that they're going to be telling. I mean, it's unfolding a little more slowly and subtly than it would in Discovery or Discover. Why did I say Discovery? Wait, which is right? I can't remember now.
Discovery?
Yeah. Is it just okay? Never mind. I'm crazy. I don't know I don't know. Never mind. So anyway, but yes, I just kind of feels like that same sort of like galaxy spanning plot. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where it's going to unfold.
Well, this is unfolding even more subtle than it did last season.
Oh my gosh.
Last season you had it was a big moment in every episode when that ship would show up and attack the ships. And this even is more subtle than that.
Right.
But it's interesting because obviously they're going somewhere with it because we're 4 episodes in now and this has been part of at least 3 of them.
Yes. Right, exactly. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're going to be telling us. It's exciting. So let's also talk a little bit about the B plot, which is the Miglimo and the bird people and the food critics, and it was silly and it was lighthearted and definitely offset the heaviness of the Klingon A plot. But it was enjoyable enough. But I always wanted to like get back to the Klingons. Come on, let's get back to the Klingons. But what did y'all think about the Miglimo plot?
It was okay.
It was silly, but it wasn't any sillier than a lot of the Ferengi stuff from DS9.
Yeah.
When
no.
Everything you get about Ferengi culture was just silly, and it was obviously all off of the profits. Not the profits from Bajor, but they want the profits. They want to make profits. You know what I mean? But they have their ritual like utensils, and food critics are highly respected on his planet. I liked getting some backstory on his planet because he's just sort of been hanging on the ship, and we have seen before that he's a foodie. So I guess that makes perfect sense that he's from a planet of foodies.
Speaking of their utensils, I thought it was hilarious that they have a utensil that they pick a piece of the food up and then basically chew it before they put it on their tongue. So it's like pre-chewed. Oh, that was hilarious.
That is funny. I didn't even pick up on that, I don't think.
I didn't either.
Because it was shaped like a beak.
Yeah, that makes sense.
God, that was so clever.
And usually when you see like a fork on a Klingon ship, it's just going to be a weird shaped fork. You know what I mean? Like they still have basically the same utensils as us most of the time.
Right. Okay, let's see. Elaine says, it kind of reminds me of the crack in the wall arc in Doctor Who.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have two themes going on tonight because that's another Doctor Who reference.
Yeah.
And Matt says that he didn't really enjoy the B plot this week.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was just okay. I mean, it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. I think the only time I laughed was when they brought out that fish with all the eyes that looked like it looked like one of the mutant fish you see in The Simpsons or something. They used to fish out of the river.
Yeah,
right. And the captain's like, I'm not too sure about this.
But now that we talked about the Klingon band, but going back to that for a second, I would like to see more of that kind of stuff, and because you would assume, I made the joke about from Strange New Worlds that doing K-pop would bring them dishonor, but you would imagine that like the bands would approach it as they're going to like have an honorable concert, and that sort of thing. I would love to see different elements of the culture.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine a Klingon battle of the bands?
Right.
I need that episode now.
That would be awesome.
A true battle of the bands.
Cow, yes, amazing. All right, Elaine says, the Miglimo story would have worked better over a longer episode, maybe.
Okay.
Or as a C plot. I don't know.
I thought it was fine. I mean,
it was fine.
It was a kind of like a Star Trek B plot, like a couple of aliens come on board and they're causing problems, and turns out there's a reason they're causing problems.
And then Matt says, also, did Lower Decks come in on the side of pink blood for Klingons? Oh, yeah.
They sure did.
Yeah, totally.
And previously, it's really just Star Trek 6 where they have pink blood.
Yes.
Every other time, they just have regular human colored blood.
Right.
But it was a plot point in Star Trek 6. This is not Klingon blood.
And wasn't that all about ratings? Wasn't that the whole point of the blood?
Because all that blood floating around, they made it pink so they would get a higher rating.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah. What you gonna do?
I know.
But speaking of the blood, Matt, there's a good point on the blood. But I wrote in my notes that was an incredibly violent scene that kind of came up. That
I know.
Wow.
I loved it. I was so surprised when all of a sudden he's like stabbed in the back, and I'm like, first of all, that is absolutely an appropriate move for that captain who has been shown to have no honor.
Yeah,
to just stab a dude in the back like that. But I love that. It was such a tense moment, and it was so purely Klingon. It's great.
Yeah, and even that, it was not really the same thing, but it sort of harkens back to that first episode when they're playing with the batleth and it like gruesomely cuts into his leg, like to the bone, because it would. Like if you got a Klingon sword, you don't want to be whirling that thing around because it's not funny if it hits you.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right.
Elaine is agreeing with you, Keith. She says, I said the same thing. This was a violent episode for Lower Decks.
Yeah, it was pretty wild because one stabs the other one, then he stabs the other, and then he actually killed him. Just threw him in the chair. The body was just sitting there. Like, wow.
And then the episode ends with Ma'az's brother falling on the horn, the bone, and I can't feel my legs.
Yeah.
I mean, self-inflicted accidental violence, but still.
Yeah. I liked Ma'az's kind of doofy brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, he even said, he was saying something like, he said, I can see Kalis, the original one, the one that did impressions, whatever that was about. So some kind of weird joke that they wrote. I thought that was kind of strange.
I didn't catch that line.
Yeah. He was trying to say he was done. He said, I can see Kalis, the original one, the one that did impressions.
Yeah.
Okay.
He did impressions. Help me, Kirk. Like, now do Lincoln. Help me, Spot. I just flipped that. But yeah, no, the original Kalis was doing impressions.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that line at all. How did I miss that?
I wrote the line there, but I didn't even make the. Here we go again. I didn't make the connection to the Savage Curtain, which is exactly. You're right. He meant the original one that looked like that one. You're right. Yeah. That's what he did. Yeah, he goes down. Can you cry like Lincoln? You're right.
Yeah, he could do Lincoln. He could do Sirac. He was a man of many talents.
Wow, that is so clever.
Wow, there are so many deep cuts I'm missing today.
Yeah, like Lower Decks, you got to like watch it over and over because you can't pick up on everything the first time through. And it's not the kind of episode you can just watch on, like play on your phone while it's on TV because there's so much stuff going by visually. They talk so fast, like this, like rapid information.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I love the whole Ma'a thing and the Talin thing. Just going back to like they feel like very organic. Like oftentimes now you get like this is going to be XYZ because everything's serialized and you don't often get just a guest star or a guest character that works well and they come up with another idea for a couple years later. Whereas like the Talin and Ma'a thing both felt like they're just introduced in that episode. Maybe they'll come back, maybe they won't, but it wasn't. Everything now seems like it's all planned out, a year before the episode comes out. And now it just like, so it feels more organic, or maybe someone was watching it and was like, hey, that's a great Klingon. Let's do that Klingon again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that.
And speaking of Klingons, this is specifically for Elaine. There was a name that was referenced numerous times in this episode, and that is Martok. Now, you don't know who Martok is because you haven't watched DS9 yet, but just you wait. He is by far my favorite Klingon character in all of Star Trek.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he's just an amazing character.
Yeah. Martok is a Lower Decks character who appeared in the board game they were playing one time.
That's true.
All is.
That is true. That's right.
I think I call him Martek just now instead of Martok.
You did.
You know what I mean.
I was about to correct you.
I know I said it wrong.
I thought you said Martok. I've totally heard it that way. Anyway. Right.
No one can talk tonight, apparently.
Yeah, it's one of those nights. Everyone's kind of low energy and tired, I think.
Elaine, I second what Alan said. There are probably 3 Klingons that represent Klingons, and that's Kor, Kang, and Martok. And like Alan said, I won't spoil it for it, but they all represent.
And not Koloth?
I would agree with Matt. Koloth was his own character.
Cool.
No,
he's cool.
His own 2 different characters. Because he was a different character when he came back on Deep Space Nine.
Yes, that's true. That is
but
true.
I will throw Gowron in there. I think Gowron.
Gowron.
100% agree with that.
Great Klingon.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Well,
I thought with a little, and I can't. Gosh, I don't want to spoil this either. So I'll just say again, because of Elaine, I don't want to spoil it. I'll just say when I saw the little ship, I thought that was a reference to another series episode I had seen before. I didn't realize they were from a universe where they're a little compared to us. So I thought that was interesting. And I wonder what happened, because at the end she says, sorry, we can't send you home. So I wonder what's going to happen with that little.
It's just a microscopic ship now, I guess, just hanging out.
Yeah.
You need to go find one of those. What was that the temporal anomaly or the anomaly they found that time that shrank the Defiant. They needed to find one of those things and
Yeah.
try to at least grow to the same size as the rest of the universe.
Section 31 will probably grab them and put them on secret missions.
That's actually a great idea.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
If I was Section 31, I would definitely be grabbing them, putting it on secret missions.
Right.
The whole starship in on like someone's lapel. That's way better than one of those patches that they put on people's back to track them. They're like this big.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not subtle.
Right.
Yeah. I also thought we talked about the ending of the fight was violent. I thought the fight itself was really well done for a cartoon. That was a good fight. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I also wonder, you always wonder when Ronald D. Moore and them, I think it was Ronald D. Moore, when they created things like the Klingons pain sticks, you wonder how many times they know that stuff is just going to go on and on and on, because the pain sticks have become such a part of Klingon culture.
Another thing about the fight scene, and this really stood out to me, and I've been meaning to look in the credits every episode this year just to make sure that Nami Melamood, who we've had on our show before, is still the composer on the show, because the music this year has been great, and the music in that fight scene at the end of this episode was fantastic.
It absolutely was. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the thing that sort of jumped out at me was this is a great Klingon episode. In part, I mean, great character stuff going on, but you saw a side of Klingon culture that we've really not seen before. We've not seen, a Klingon blood wine farm or whatever it was. Like you don't see a Klingon farmer very often on Star Trek, and that's all these years later. We still haven't seen much of that sort of thing. So I think it's great that they're still finding little things like that, but also it kind of references back to Lower Decks itself, because they just did that with Boimler on the Raisin Vineyard with he had his Picard outfit on as well,
Right. But it's also interesting to see a Klingon captain who is so disillusioned that he doesn't want to be a captain anymore, because he's basically lost faith in the fleet that he's a part of, and he just doesn't want to be a part of it because the guy leading the thing is so dishonorable, and he would just rather farm blood wine than go back into space. And I thought that was an interesting take as well.
And also probably very true. If you get stuck in a situation like that, what would you do if you're a person of honor and you got that around you, especially because the guy has rank?
Yeah.
Again, I can't talk about that too much because I'm lame, but there's a whole lot of stuff we can even say about that too.
Well, I thought this was just a great episode all the way around. I think this is probably my favorite of the season so far. But hopefully not for the rest of the season, because I mean, Lower Decks tends to build as it goes on.
Yes.
And I mean, I think that they knew that they're wrapping things up, so I think that they're not holding anything back. So I'm hoping to see some great episodes coming up this season.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So one thing I was going to say real quick about the show, which is interesting, is Ransom. Ransom's kind of like the jokey Riker / Kirk thing, and they always, he's always doing the thing where he's making muscles and stuff like that. But in the midst of all that silliness, you also see he is a Starfleet officer. Because even as goofy as it is, he'll say things like, "Well, I thought you knew this about this culture," and stuff like that. Yeah, bruh. Yeah, then you're right. He'll say that. But then at the same time, you realize this is a highly trained and experienced Starfleet officer, despite all the goofiness around his character, which I think is he's a very competent person. So I find that very interesting the way they can mix all that together.
Yeah, Mike McMahon has described him in the past as California Riker. I think that's perfect.
I can see that.
I like that.
I am disillusioned that bruh makes it to the 24th century.
Right.
I thought we would have evolved beyond that by then.
You would hope. All right. Well, if we don't have anything more to talk about these episodes, we do have a couple of questions of the week that we can get to. We haven't done one of those in quite a while, and I've got a couple that we've never done on the show. So I'm going to keep with a theme that has been running throughout this episode. Here it comes. It's recurring. And this question was sent to us by Matt Sweatman, and he asks, which Trek characters are most like each of the monkeys?
Oh, I don't know how to answer that.
I would say, I will say Davy Jones and Chekhov. Grab the easy one.
That's the easy, yeah.
Well, that was the only answer I could have had, so I'm out.
Yeah, just even physically, they were exactly, because one was meant to look like the other.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'll say Mike Nesmith, Spock.
He's Mike. Mike is always the first one I go to, and I was trying to think who I would match up with. with him.
Okay.
And I was,
Oh
I
wait,
don't
we
know.
have a T-shirt that does this.
Do we?
Oh, we
Yes.
do?
We do not have time to find it.
No, but Bones was Mike.
Yeah, they just randomly photoshopped on people though.
Yeah,
I don't think there
know.
was a lot of thought going into it. Like on the show, Peter was the dummy. I don't know who would be the dummy in Star Trek. Is there a dummy? Oh, Rom.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you
Yeah.
go. I was thinking more of Dwight Schultz's character
Reginald
Okay.
Barkley.
because
Yeah.
he's a little bit off from what you would expect, but has moments of brilliance.
Okay.
I like Rum better.
Okay.
I think so too. I like Ron better.
And I'll go Mickey and Mariner.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
I can see that. I can see that.
Huh. Okay.
And if anyone
that's
doesn't know the monkeys, this segment won't make a lot of sense. But I have a podcast that you can check out and find out more about them. It's called Monkeying Around, which you can find at monkeyingaround.com or on your favorite podcast platform.
There you
Right
go.
here on the ESO network.
What a great way to slip that in. That was perfect.
But we need to replenish our stock of
Yeah, we
questions
do.
of the week. So if you're out there and you've got a good question of the week that we can address, we need some because we got a lot of shorter episodes coming up of Lower Decks. And we want to fill the time and have other classic Star Trek things to talk about as well. So you can send them to us on Earth Station Trek on our group, or you can email us at earthstationtrek@gmail.com. I already forgot what it is.
At
Yeah.
Gmail, yes.
gmail.com. Or you can call us and leave a voicemail. No one will pick up, I promise. And the phone number is 307-387-1701. That's 307-387-1701. And Veronica, you had a little
Yes.
jingle for that, right?
307-387-1701.
Yep.
And
I
if
think it might
you
have been Alan
do,
that made that.
yes, and if you do that, then we would be able to play your question of the week live on the show, and you could be part of the show
Yeah.
and
'cause we
ask
have a
us a
hotline,
question. Yes.
like the old
And you
days.
And you can do that about anything. It doesn't have to be a question of the week. Give us a call and leave a message. Leave a an observation about one of the episodes that we've talked about. Leave your observations about the Lower Decks season so far. Anything you want, as long as it's about Star Trek.
And I
Babylon
know some
5.
people are apprehensive these days about making phone calls, but I promise you no one will answer it because it goes to my phone and I set it not to make my phone ring. So it goes directly to a cute little voicemail that Veronica recorded for us. And you can leave a voicemail message and it sends me an email. We download the MP3 and we'll play it on the show, assuming it's appropriate. And I'll just ask people to keep it concise.
Yes. And we don't
need an audiobook.
We've had this phone line for how long now? And we haven't used it very much. And we never
Mostly it's
mention
just
it,
me
but
that calls when I'm out of town.
when you're out of town. Exactly. Which we love hearing from you when you're out of town. It makes me feel like you're part of the show, even when you're
I
not here.
know. Yeah. And I'll also say that I keep having to like renew the thing because it keeps saying like you've not used this in X number of months and we're canceling your phone line. And I had like, no, we want to try it again. So I believe in the hotline. I think we can make it happen.
Yeah.
I believe in it too. It's a good concept.
I'm gonna go write it on some bathroom walls so we get some calls.
Oh boy.
You did say you wanted it to be appropriate, and I don't think that will gain us anything we could use.
Got a question of the week? Call.
Like Star Trek, call.
Oh dear.
boy.
Ponfar 307-387-1701.
Oh my gosh.
Jamal
Oh, that's
Haraj.
hilarious.
Oh, just have a little picture of a
Oh, boy.
Horgon and then the phone number.
That's like our card, like in Have Gun Will Travel. Instead of the Paladin, it'll be a Horgon.
There you go.
All right.
There you go.
We're getting silly now. All right. Alan, where can people find more of you?
All right. Head on over to cosmiccreative.com, KOZMICcreative.com, where you can find information about the books that I've written, books by other authors that I have published, podcasts that I do or am involved in, and the new documentary that I am putting together. It's a documentary about the Doctor Who convention that I ran for 17 years, and it is called Unconventional, the Timegate/Wholanta story. And I have interviewed about 14 or 15 past guests all for interviews for this documentary, and I'm going to be working on getting staff interviews very, very soon, and then we're going to be putting it together and debuting it next May. Our plan is to put out our first trailer at Stellar Fest, which is a new science fiction convention that is starting up next year, first weekend in April. I'm running the Doctor Who track. Chuck, in the window to my left, is running the Star Trek track, and we're in the room next door to each other, and I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
So yes, come to Stellar Fest, see the first trailer for our new documentary, Unconventional, and do all the things.
Yep. And you will probably have more regular Stellar Fest updates as we get closer to the con.
Yes.
Because and maybe we'll get some people on to talk about it and that sort of thing, because I'm excited about this convention.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. We haven't had anything like this in Atlanta for quite a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good thing, and I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right, Keith, where can people find more of you?
You can find me, well, still on X and on Facebook, primarily the ESO Network Facebook groups.
And how about us, Veronica?
FeltNerdy.com.
That's right. And we've just announced the date for our next show at the Red Light Cafe. It'll be on January the 12th. And we've got a confirmation now from the people we're teaming up with. Can we announce that yet, or we want to hold that announcement until we have more together for it?
Let's hold it.
Okay. Because we've been doing some collab shows with
Yeah.
our friends who are artists who are working in the area. And this is someone we've been trying to get for a little while, but trying to get the schedules to sync up is a little bit of a challenge because they stay busy and we stay busy. But we'll announce that later. But we've got a fun show planned for the 12th of January, and that'll be at the Red Light Cafe here in Atlanta. That'll be an adult-only show. For more information, you can follow Felt Nerdy and Dirty on Facebook and Instagram. Or if you want to see it, we're working on some family-friendly stuff that we don't have nailed down yet, but for our family-friendly all-ages stuff, it's not just family-friendly, but it's really just all ages. You can go to Felt Nerdy, feltnerdy.com, or Felt Nerdy on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram to follow us just generally. And where else can people find us, Veronica?
Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys.
That's right. And do you have a closing for us this week?
Nook nay.
Okay, I'll take it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, everybody.
Prepared, but it fits.
Right.
No, I
Thanks, Rob.
prepared it because it was a Klingon episode, so I had a Klingon
Yes.
no answer.
Go ahead, Alan.
We will be back next Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will be talking about next week's episode of Lower Decks, and we'll be starting our show off with another topic. These Lower Decks episodes usually allow us the freedom to have a mini topic and then an episode review.
Mhm.
So we have to figure out what our topics are going to be for the next few weeks. All right, everybody have a great week. We'll see you soon.
Bye.